There's always a weird bit of lag between when it says going live when it does. That's why the music might come in halfway through there. I'm trying my best to narrow it down. I'll figure out how to actually just input it at the beginning before too long. Anyway, hi, welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. And yeah, doing a review. Stuck an extra one in here, Disaster Incorporated, or just Inc. From Aftershock Studios, who still are putting out great stuff and still make me want to pick up everything they do. Even if sometimes after a few issues, it's maybe not something which has maintained my interest. Their launches are always fantastic, and they have such really cool concepts that it's worth picking up in issue 1 with their name on it, as far as I'm concerned. This one, as you can probably see from the cover there, there's some samurai influence going on there. Also dealing with an actual real-life event. And this argument is made that kind of stuff should be left alone, or that there is a time period where, the whole too soon thing might be passed, although realised saying that one might be slightly inappropriate because the whole tsunami thing that happened in Fukushima. Because yes, we're dealing with a massive nuclear disaster and an earthquake and some tidal waves and everything that went wrong. And that on its own would be like a pretty terrible, hair-raising situation. And thankfully, we're not dealing with the actual stuff of it. Like this is set in the modern day. What happened in Fukushima happened a few years ago, and it's actually people going back to the disaster area. To start with, you're dealing with 2 groups of people. First off, there's some researchers who are trying to catalogue disfigurements, mutation-caused disfigurements in the butterflies. Seems fairly nice and fairly standard. You get some really nice bits of artwork too, nice framing. Then you get that. Look at how dark that is. Love that. And then look at that samurai background there. That's very, very cool. And you know that something else is going to be going on here. Awesome. But you don't get much of an explanation as to why. It very quickly jumps then to the people of Disaster Incorporated, who are effectively kind of terrible people who take huge amounts of money from people who should know better to go and visit areas where they really shouldn't be going, places of natural disaster, places which are off limits, places where it's illegal to go to. It's not like most unusual concept. Disaster tourism is just a thing. The fact that they're dealing with a comic book about it isn't really a massive surprise. But it's kind of reassuring to know that most of the people involved are terrible people. Both the people organising it and the people who go on it. There is very little to actually like about any of the characters you're going to meet so far. Even the people who seem to be there because they think they're going for good reasons, they're still breaking the law to get in there. And they're still risking other people's health and safety. And they're still just kind of whiny, mealy-mouthed people. Like, they are the worst stereotype of people who care about the environment. And they've obviously been written like that on purpose. This isn't like to say all the people who care about the environment are terrible people. I care about the environment. But there's certain, like, negative stereotypes that you see in media. This is one of those, and they've really leaned into it. But that's on purpose. All the people are stereotypes, including the mystery woman with the red hair who's turned up and nobody really knows what she's doing there, but seems to know something. And it's basically foreshadowing for stuff. But that's the thing. Pretty much all of it is foreshadowing. There is little bits of action. There is some explanation about what's going on, but all in the most vague and elusive terms. This is what I think about Aftershock Comics when they do this, is I love that kind of thing. I think an issue 1 shouldn't be like everything that you want it to be. There should be a cut-off point where you want to come back and read out what happens later. It's like when you pick up the back of a book and you read it, and it gives you an idea about what to expect. If that's all you got from the book, you're probably a little bit disappointed. And the same goes for issue 1s of comic books. You can read the blurb on previewsworld.com or in the catalogs or on the websites for the companies that put them out, and they'll tell you a very basic little story about what to expect in this comic book. But if that's all you get for issue 1, it doesn't leave much more room to grow. That being said, this was a slow issue 1. The couple of bits of action in there were fast and brutal and kind of almost came out of nowhere. There was hardly any build-up or warning to them, which is an effective thing to do. It's something which I quite like when I read stuff like that in books or on TV. Sometimes you just get something, and because it's so out of nowhere, it hits you, it really makes you stagger a little bit. But I think the build-up to it at the moment doesn't feel like it's correctly paced to me. It's enjoyable, but I can't help but feel that there's going to be something that happens fairly soon, which is again going to feel like it's come out of nowhere. But if you keep doing it over and over, it could get to the point where it's a bit jarring, and you're a bit like, well, learn how to time things, learn how to build up suspense, get to a peak of a moment where something is upsetting or off-putting, and then drop it down again, then build it up again. At the moment, because it is just nothing, blah, nothing, blah, nothing. It feels like when the next blah moment going to happen, it's just like, oh, come on, can we get a sense of building something rather than just storytelling? Good, basically, unfortunately. Certainly not one that I think I'm going to put on my list, but an interesting concept. And I like the fact that there's cyber involved. Anyway, that's it from me. There's a whole bunch of new stuff coming out tomorrow, so I'll come back then and do another review. Bye!